Good afternoon, Western Washington, and happy Thursday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and today we've got a weekend system to look at that could bring some rain to parts of the area, along with some breezy conditions, and then a potential for some offshore flow very briefly next week, and potentially more systems after that. So we got a lot to take a look at here, but starting with our satellite imagery, you can see we had a pretty persistent marine layer through the day today, still just starting to burn off here in the afternoon for some of the area, but these low clouds will remain for a lot of areas from Seattle southward there. You can see lots of thunderstorms over parts of Montana, Idaho, Oregon, and even southeast Washington there. Some instability there along the Cascades as well, and then the marine layer very entrenched across parts of southwest Washington, the coast, and Oregon as well. Taking a look at the radar, you can see where all those thunderstorms are. Just a huge amount of thunderstorms across parts of the inland northwest there. Not really impacting Washington state, though, and definitely not western Washington, as we have the cool marine influence here, while all the thunderstorms are off to the east. Now taking a look at some wildfire updates here. You can see the Tunnel Creek fire there on the Olympic Peninsula at 180 acres. Wildcat fire, 7,929 acres. The Bear Gulch fire there on the Olympic Peninsula, 10,628 acres. Again, the largest fire on the peninsula in at least 50 years. And then you can see these big growth here on the Labor Mountain fire near Mount Stewart, 3,934 acres. The Lower Sugarloaf fire north of Leavenworth at 14,323 acres. And then you have multiple really big fires here in northeast Washington. Largest in the state, the Rattlesnake fire, 21,338 acres, but it's now 50% contained, so it's producing a lot less smoke. And then you see the Lynx Mountain fire, 5,000 acres. Tacoma Creek at 3,800 acres. Katy Creek at 3,500 acres, and then the Crown Creek fire here at 14,200 acres. So really, you can see there's just a lot going on across the state. These fires are still burning. They're still producing a decent amount of smoke in some cases and burning a lot of acres. So we do have to watch it closely as we go through the next few days. Now, taking a look at our overall pattern here in the European model, you see we have a bit of ridging here, trough to our south, producing those thunderstorms over the inland northwest. We get some more of that ridging as we go through the day Friday, and then going into Saturday, you can see this system moving in here as we go to Saturday evening into Sunday, moves through the area through Monday, and then we get some brief ridging here going into Tuesday and Wednesday there. You can see the ridging to our north, and then potentially the next system moving in Wednesday night into Thursday. You can see that then moving off to the east there as well. And it's right here in this time frame Tuesday. You get some of this ridging here, but some weak troughing inland, and that may bring some offshore flow that could ramp up some fire activity. So we're going to have to watch that closely to see how that plays out. It's not going to last very long, but it could have some impacts. Taking a look at the overall precipitation forecast here, you see our system starting to move into the area right here. As we go into Saturday, you see this system forming offshore. Briefly, you get a low center there, but it weakens. As it moves onshore there, you can see rain moves onto the coast Sunday morning, continues impacting the lowlands and parts of western Washington all the way through Monday midday there. You can see convergence zone potentially over the central and southern parts of Puget Sound. Showers continue into late Monday night. Then we have a dry day on Tuesday, some offshore flow potentially with this, you got a low center approaching here as well. So this could be what is going to cause some of that offshore flow. It is very brief again. And then you can see we have this system moving onshore here as we go into Wednesday, and that moves through the area as we go into Wednesday night, and you get a little bit of wraparound moisture there coming in on Thursday potentially before we likely dry out again going into next weekend. So taking a look at how much precipitation we could see here going through the day Sunday, you can see I fast forward this all the way out to Monday night, and mainly areas from Seattle southward getting more precipitation from this. Look at some of the mountains, including near the Wildcat fire. They're getting at least a half inch of rain. So good totals for the mountains, potentially thunderstorms and some showers may bring some nice totals, especially in northeast Washington, which could really help bring some of those fire activity down there. And then you can see on the coast getting some rain as well. And then going later into the week with that next system that comes through Wednesday, it adds a little bit to the totals, but not a ton. Really only adding some to these totals, about a half inch of rain potentially north of Everett, especially north of Mount Vernon, and then the northern coast getting some more rain as well. So we have to watch these totals as we go closer. Any rain that we can get, especially in areas where fires are burning, is going to be helpful to get some of those containment numbers up. But we've got a little bit to go until that rain gets here. Taking a look at wind, you can see here as we go through Monday there with the system Sunday to Monday, potentially some gusts across parts of the Willamette Valley there, and then some of these downslope gusts on the east slopes of the Cascades along that part of south central Washington there. Overall, not very windy, but take a look at As we go into Tuesday, you get a little bit of some gap winds going on here Tuesday night into Wednesday. You get that offshore flow, gusts maybe up to 40 miles per hour or so around Snoqualmie Pass. Not much of those gap winds getting out over the Puget Sound area or anything like that. Maybe some gusts near 30 miles per hour there around Portland and southeast or southwest Washington there. Overall, not a very strong offshore flow event, but really any reversal of the winds could have some impact on fire activity and stuff like that and where some of the smoke goes. So we do have to watch it closely to see how it plays out. And here you kind of see why that's happening. You have higher pressure inland and lower pressure offshore at this little weak low center that may be out there. And that's what's going to cause those weak offshore winds. So we have to watch that closely again. That'll be Tuesday to see how that trends, see if it's something that is still likely or if it ends up not being very likely. So we'll watch that forecast over the next few days here. Now taking a look at temperatures, you can see Friday you're looking at highs in the upper 60s to low 70s across western Washington. Same thing Saturday, just a tad bit warmer though, with those highs in the low to mid 70s, maybe some upper 70s from Olympia southward toward Portland, coast in the low to mid 60s, maybe some upper 60s inland. And then you see with that system moving in on Sunday, we cool down quite a bit with highs in the mid to upper 60s across the region. In the low 60s near the water, low 60s on the coast, maybe a few upper 50s even. Same thing there on Monday, upper 60s from Olympia northward. And then on the coast, mid to upper 60s. Olympia southward, you have highs in the low 70s. And then we start to really warm up with some of that offshore flow there on Tuesday. Highs in the upper 60s to low 70s from Seattle northward, mid 70s to maybe some upper 70s from Seattle south. And then Olympia southward, you get highs in the upper 70s to low 80s, even some mid 80s around the Willamette Valley. And those highs on the coast increase all the way up to the low 70s as well. And then same thing there on Wednesday, low to mid 70s most of the region, and then upper 60s on the coast. And then going into the middle to the end of next week, into next Thursday, you can see those temperatures drop a little bit with highs back to the upper 60s to low 70s. I wanted to point this out as well. Tuesday morning, we're going to have some pretty chilly temperatures across the region, relatively speaking, to what we've had over the last few weeks here. And this is the National Blend of Models forecast. You can see Tuesday morning, you're expecting some lows across the region in the upper 40s to low 50s. You can see places like Olympia and Shelton down to 49 degrees, 50 in Tacoma, even 55 there in downtown Seattle. The coast in the upper 40s to low 50s, and then you can see even the Willamette Valley there in the low to mid 50s, and then of course in the mountains, even in some of the places where these fires are burning, northeast Washington, eastern slopes of the Cascades, temperatures getting into the low 40s, and that is very good to see. And I will be watching this trend here over the next few days as well to see if we can get some cooler temperatures in there to maybe bring down those fires just a bit. And also take a look at some of the highlands of eastern Oregon there, lows in the 30s potentially. So fall is definitely coming. You can tell that at times with some of our morning lows being a little bit cooler, but you'll definitely be able to see that next Tuesday as we get those temperatures dropping into the 40s for some locations. And then real quick, we can take a look at air quality and smoke. So taking a look at the purple air map, you can see air quality good to moderate across the Puget Sound area. You get some lingering areas of smoke in there. Good air quality on the coast, of course, and not doing too bad across eastern Washington. You still have some areas in the unhealthy category, but compared to what we were seeing last week, this is actually really good, where you had hazardous, unhealthy, very unhealthy air quality all across eastern Washington, and you're seeing only moderate to unhealthy in isolated spots right now. So that is a big improvement. Now taking a look at that smoke forecast, you can see we get some smoke aloft across western Washington over the next few hours here. You may not notice it with some of the clouds. You can see smoke aloft continuing across eastern Washington. Going through Friday, very light concentrations of smoke aloft, and that is really this forecast goes into Saturday morning. You can see still light concentrations of smoke aloft, and then a little bit more across parts of eastern Washington, but nothing compared to what we had a couple weeks back there, or last week, sorry, with the big fire activity. Taking a look at surface smoke, western Washington remains clear all the way through Friday, Saturday. You can see that there, just not really. You get a little bit of an incursion to some of the foothills, maybe in some of the higher mountains there Saturday, with some light concentrations of surface smoke. But overall, that surface smoke remains confined to areas near the fires and blowing to the east with some of that onshore flow. But then again, this is why we need to watch that offshore flow on Tuesday very closely, because as the flow starts to shift around, we may draw some of that surface smoke and some of that heavier smoke aloft out into western Washington and western Oregon a little bit. So that's something we need to watch. And then again, looking at the European model ensemble here, the trend is for mostly dry conditions all the way through mid-September, even into the end of September there. So we'll have to watch this as well. But we've been watching this for a while, and we've definitely trended drier than we initially were about a week ago. And then looking at the high temperature forecast, you can see get those cooler morning lows across some of the days here. This is for SeaTac, so it is a little bit on the warmer side. And you can see these couple days with offshore flow showing up right here, especially Tuesday and Wednesday of next week with those highs potentially even nearing 80 degrees for parts of the lowlands. So then one more thing to note here, 2 days left on the 25% off sale on the Western Washington Weather merch store. So check that out in the link below. Lots of cool products there. And then also be sure to subscribe to Western Washington Weather. You can even leave a super comment or join as a channel member. Those are great things if you'd like to monetarily support the channel. And then you can also follow me on the Western Washington Weather Facebook group, on Twitter, and on Blue Sky. So thank you all very much for watching. Check out the links to these and the merch store in the description below, and I will talk to you all later.